Hello and welcome back to another Rush Duel Links deck profile. Today we're finally taking a look at Galaxy, which is the first, Go Rush deck that we're actually going to be taking a look at. So Galaxy basically comes in two flavors at the moment, and that is Light Galaxy and Dark Galaxy. Only Light Galaxy is currently available in Duel Links, but we do expect Zuijo in the near future who will bring Dark Galaxy along with him. But Light Galaxy specifically is all built around normal monsters. We have lots of effects that work with normal monsters, that boost normal monsters. We get extra effects if we have normal monsters. And this is what we have in Duel Links. So first off, we'll talk about our skill. This is Galactica Order. So this can be activated from turn 2 onwards if all the monsters with 1400 or more attack in our constructed deck are light attribute galaxy type monsters. So we can only use it with Light Galaxy, that's kind of fine. Effect, we can send one level 7 galaxy type normal monster from our hand to the graveyard, then add one secret order or meteor charge from your deck to your hand. Meteor charge can only be added once per duel. So secret order did, I think, surprise a lot of people when it actually got leaked as part of this skill, because it confirmed we were getting this card. A lot of people, including myself, weren't sure if we'd be getting secret order because this card did break the physical game for quite a while. Now, secret order was as good as it was because it was paired with another card called Parallel Birthgate, which combining the two basically let you fill your deck with a bunch of level 7 normal monsters. Then you just spam them out very willy-nilly and you get to make these ridiculous boards of like 3 level 7 2500 plus attack monsters. That was relatively easy to make. So Secret Order itself, very, very strong card. So we can special summon a level 7 normal monster from our hand or graveyard face up to our field. This turn, the monster special summoned by this effect gains 700 attack and cannot be destroyed by your opponent's trap card effects. So in the deck we're playing today, basically this says we can get out one of two of our boss monsters. One of them will come out as a 3000 attack monster for the turn. The other will come out as a 3200 attack point monster for the turn. Notably, if we do use this to summon from the graveyard, it's basically a 1 card double tribute boss monster, which is really, really good value. But the other card we can get is Meteor Charge. We can only get this once per duel, which does kind of suck, but you will be able to understand why when we read this card. So we can choose one face-up galaxy type monster on your field. This turn, that monster inflicts piercing damage. Okay, so this is just the Pierce spell card, but locked to galaxy. Okay, that's fine. If it is a normal monster, we can also change the battle position of one monster on your opponent's field. So attack position becomes face-up defense. Defense position becomes face-up attack. So this is actually really good. So this is basically Pierce, kind of times 2. So we can use this to change one of our opponent's attack position monsters to defense position and then pierce over that. Or we could change something to defense and then give something else piercing and then use that to attack over a different defense position monster. Or we can use this to change a defense position monster face up to attack over it to get some big damage, whilst also giving one of our other monsters piercing to get over a different monster and basically get 2 lots of big chunky damage in through set 3 monsters. So it's very, very good. And that's why we can only use Meteor Charge once, or we can only search Meteor Charge once using the skill. So that's basically what this deck is. It is a Secret Order deck. Without Secret Order, this deck does kind of fall apart, and our boss monsters of choice to summon are going to be the Galactica Oblivion, which does have a respectable 2500 attack and defense, and then Cosmo Titan, which is a lot worse, but we have to play this over any of our other boss monsters because this is a Light Galaxy, and the other Galaxy 2500 attack we have is Wind. So we'll go through the card by card. We have Transam Klein. So quite weak stats, but if we have no other monsters on our field, we can add a light attribute galaxy type normal monster from our graveyard to our hand. This turn, you can only attack with galaxy type monsters, so that restriction is fine. So Klein is reasonably good because we can use it to grab back one of our level 7s to then activate our skill. Or we could use it to grab back one of our 7s and then just tribute summon it. Or we can use it to get back one of our level 4 or lowers and then just have that as a body to either be tributed off or just have it as a 1600 attacker, for example. So Klein is pretty good, and it is very versatile in how we can use it in this deck. Then there's Galactica Oblivion, we've already spoken about, and then we get to Transam Linak, our 1600 beta. The first 1600 beta does have 0 defense, but 1600 attack is still really good. It beats over all the other level 4 non-legends, at least for now. Then there's the Cosmo Titan we already spoke about, and then we get to Bright Sentinel. This is our typical just 1500 beta. So we do have the Transam that does have the 16, but we also have the Sentinel, which is a 15, and then we have a 14 in Vortex Shooter. Now, you're probably asking, why do we have so many vanillas? We probably don't need all of these vanillas. And the answer is, we are playing Galactica Force in this build. So this is the pure build, which is just a bunch of vanillas that all basically stack together to be played alongside Galactica Force, which is we can shuffle 3 Galaxy-type monsters from your graveyard into the deck. So we really want to have quite a large number of Galaxy monsters in the deck, so we've got to get enough into the graveyard to actually fulfill the requirement. Then all face-up Galaxy-type normal monsters, so again we need to be able to make sure we have a lot of Galaxy-type normal monsters on the field at all times, gain attack equal to the number of face-up normal monsters on the field, so that's our field and our opponent's field, times 300. So if we're in the mirror match, or we're playing against something like Metarion and they commonly can get out like a bunch of normal monsters, we can get an extra boost off of their cards. So Galactica Force is basically how this version of the deck is going to try to close out games. We've already spoken about Secret Order, but this card is still absolutely fantastic. Being able to search this card is really, really important. Being able to get out our boss monsters very easily and have them come out at 3,000 and 3,200 respectively is very, very good, because that means they can beat over most fusion monsters. Then there's Universal Storm. This is just back row hate. We also have Tribute to the Doomed, because again, this deck doesn't really have a good way to beat over like a Cyberse or an Yggdrago, so we have to play Tribute to the Doomed to be able to deal with that. Then Meteor Charge, again, we've already spoken about this card, but we are only on one copy. This is the only real big negative of this deck, I would say, is this build only plays the single copy of Charge, and if we can't kill our opponent when we do make our Charge play, we can be in a bit of an awkward situation. Then there's Negate Attack, shouldn't really have to explain about this, it's just the best legend in the game. And then Buffered Slime, again, does have a bit more restricted use, but still very powerful, especially against a lot of specific decks, namely Cyber Dragon. So, what is our general game plan? Well, we're going to keep trying to use Secret Order as much as possible. We're going to make a big push with Galactica Force combined with Meteor Charge. In an ideal world, we'll summon out 2 or 3 of our bosses, then we'll be able to drop a Meteor Charge to give one of them piercing, change one of our opponent's defense position monsters face up, activate 1 or 2 copies of Galactica Force, and then slam into our opponent and try and basically OTK them out of the game, and ideally get into little bits of chip damage wherever we can. So, this deck is reasonably good, it is reasonably fun, but I will say, if we run out of Secret Order, so if the game goes long, if it becomes a grind game, typically we start to fall off. Basically, if we run out of Secret Orders, this deck becomes Vanilla Turbo, and Vanillas on their own don't really do much. So when you can get out Vanillas very quickly, very easily, suddenly it becomes a really cool deck. When we run out of Secret Orders, it starts to fall by the wayside a little bit. So I personally would recommend not even setting Secret Order. I would almost rather draw 1 less card for turn to guarantee my Secret Order gets to be used next turn. That is one of like the key takeaways I've had from this deck so far. But there is one more version of this deck that we're also going to look at, because there are 2 different versions that have basically been seeing play. And this is the one that's seen the most success, but I personally prefer the other one. So this is the other build, and as you might notice, this deck does not play any Galactica Force, and as such, we have a lot fewer Galaxy normal monsters in it. So we are still playing the 3 Oblivion, the 3 Transam, and the 3 Cosmo Titan. We're still playing the 3 Secret Order and 3 Universal Storm and the same trap lineup. But differently, this deck is playing 3 copies of Meteor Charge. This is basically our main finisher and how we plan to get a lot of our damage in. You may have also noticed we're not playing a legend spell, and that is deliberate. Whether or not it's the correct decision or not is still up for debate, but we basically are putting all of our eggs in one basket of we're just not going to run into a card that we need Tribute to the Doom to beat. Getting rid of a defense position monster doesn't matter as much because we have Meteor Charge, so the only thing we're basically going to lose to by not having that Tribute to the Doomed is going to be exactly like a big 4,000 attack guy. So we're just going to hedge our bets, we're not going to play against that and just kind of move around it. But this deck has been pretty good. Now, what are the other new cards in here? We have the Siesta Torero. This is good for recycling cards back into our deck, and for flipping monsters face down, which will let us just attack over them. But it also does combo really well with All-Seeing Harvey, who can pop those face down defense position monsters if they have enough defense points. As well as the fact we can use Harvey to look at our opponent's back row and then better hit something with a storm. So we look at the back row and it's important, we just storm it. If we look at the back row and it's not important, we'll storm something else. Essel is also really, really good in here because we can use our skill to basically discard a Galactica Oblivion on turn 1, and then we can grab, for example, a Secret Order. Then we can summon out Essel, and then even if we don't hit anything else off of Essel, we can bring back that Galactica Oblivion. If we do hit something else, let's say a second Galactica Oblivion, we can bring back that first Oblivion, and then we can use the Secret Order we searched to get back the second Oblivion, and then we have 2 Oblivion, and that's pretty good. So Essel, very, very good. And we also do want monsters in our graveyard to fulfill Siesta Torero's requirement. And then there's Ultimate Flag Beast Boltricorn. Turning off back row is always going to be really, really good. So what is the primary difference between this deck and the other deck? This deck is a bit more well-rounded, I feel, but it's a lot less single-minded. So the pure build is basically better for making a big push, being able to have a lot of attack points, get a lot of damage in all at once. This build is a bit more can play the grind game a bit more. It can keep the game going if it needs to, but also still does have multiple options to close the game with 3 copies of Meteor Charge without having to rely on the Galactica Force plus the 1 charge combo. So I do prefer this build. Which one is better? Again, technically, the pure build has been winning more. It has won a tournament already. It has been topping quite a lot as well. So that one's probably better. I prefer this one. And when we go into our replays, we're going to show 5 of the pure and 5 of this version because I didn't think each of them needed their own video, basically. But let's fire into the replays so I can show you what I've been talking about.